Hey YouTube, Gundam here. Welcome back to Space Engineers. Today we are looking at my latest build. This was highly inspired by the TV show The Mandalorian. This very obviously a Mandalorian ship. It's quite a large ship, actually. And what I saw after, well, I was starting this as soon as I saw episode 1, but once episode 2 and 3 had dropped, then I thought of a bit more for it, and now it is finally done, just as episode 4 has dropped. You know in the show how they had their base, their Culvert, which had a few things in it? I thought, what if they could have that but mobile? So I came up with this. The Predator class heavy assault gunship slash mobile base Culvert. It's actually a lot more than that. Actually, right here. It's base Culvert, a factory, a town, and a transport. It's quite a bit of stuff. It's for a unit that stays mobile or wants to be mobile or doesn't intend to stay around for a while. Any tribes or whatnot of Mandalore will do that. So, on the outside we do have this very protruding bridge, except for the bridge itself is just this, with heavy armor blocks that can go in to cover it up. Let me go ahead and do that. There we are. You see on the inside, those will cover from there to give it side protection, and that covers from the front, just in case this gets blasted. So, you have a fully covered cockpit unit. The cockpit, I imagine, would be quite large. Plenty of area on the bottom here for, well, just whatever you want, really. Access to it from the sides, along with those windows. Other stuff on the bridge in the back here, lots of sensors. Some more stuff here with a meeting room up top. Now, I have left the interior mostly empty because my computer just couldn't handle it. But it should have a lot of stuff. It just doesn't because of my computer. We have the Mandalorian Heart of Beskar symbol shown there and the other side, and on the top and bottom of the ship. We have the Mythosaur proudly portrayed on the side. And here we can see a lot of the armament. From what armament you can see, it doesn't look too heavily defended. You can see what are 8 rotary blaster cannons, starship variants, so very good at doing stuff. And these, do bear in mind, there are mods of Space Engineers that don't have it what it should be because of the mods. The dual guns, top and bottom here, are supposed to represent actually 2 different types of guns. But up front, they're all supposed to be dual heavy laser cannons, starship grade, not fighter grade. And in the back are supposed to be triple standard laser cannons. So 4 dual heavy laser cannon turrets and 4 triple standard laser cannon turrets, but capital grade. These are supposed to be representative of ion cannons. There's supposed to be 4 of them on the ship. And these are turbo lasers. They're supposed to be dual turbo lasers. Pretty powerful ones. Now, that, with the forward missiles, is about it. You see these 6 total missile pods that are meant for anti-capital sized concussion missiles. And below it, some torpedoes. As well. Coming to the back of the ship, there's a little bit more arsenal that is shown. You have a total of 6 quad rail guns, that's what these are, quad rails. And you have a total of 8 dual heavy laser cannons. The quad rail from the Millennium Falcon, dual heavy from like the Ghost. Better against interceptors and whatnot. And you have docking ports, forward and back, with different configurations on them. So there's that. Also, you have the series of antennas, sensors, and communications equipment up top here with landing pads. Now, I imagine like this whole thing up here could have a not a sensor, a sort of a shield go across it, and of course, why not? I always am forgetting something. And after the build, I have uploaded. I've already uploaded, but I'm just gonna do it here so you notice. You do that yourself. It's supposed to be there so you can put a force field around this. This is a massive landing pad. I should probably mention this first and foremost. The ship is actually pretty big. The ship is supposed to be between 250 and 300 meters long. That, 300 meters is the size of a Nebulon B, which a Nebulon B doesn't have too much stuff, but bear in mind a Nebulon B is pretty narrow. This thing is huge, so maybe it'll be on the smaller size of things. I can get away with having a lot of stuff for this because of its sheer size, the volume, not so much the length, width, height, because you look at a Star Destroyer, the length, width, and height, basically most of the volume is in the back, versus this thing, which is a giant cube with a bunch of cylinders attached to it. And on the bottom, this is going to be a little confusing. These marked without the yellows around it are just supposed to be where the landing gear is, atmosphere capable. These are supposed to be various hatches to lower for various vehicles and whatnot. You do have a couple hatches here and here as well. You could probably put in more, but that's what those are. So it's definitely atmospheric capable with all sorts of landing gear. And yeah, you have on the back the massive engine assembly. This is supposed to be 6 massive strips, like what the Crusader gunship has, only, giant. And there's 6 of them, but Space Engineers limitations. And we have what appears to be various hatches and hangars and some large door. So, what are these rear bays here? Well, these are actually big enough, I would say, for something like the Millennium Falcon to land on quite easily. In fact, you might be able to get 2 of them, or something the size of the Ghost. You could park something the size of the Ghost there and just have the crew go inside, not on a force field, into there. I thought having an open hangar area might be a nice addition. You could land ships and supply them there. Having a force field across might look good, and it'll be very good once you enter an atmosphere and park. You could just have them land up top and go through various elevators I imagine you would have around. But let's go ahead and open her up and show you what she's really capable of doing. I need to open this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And then, is that the handle? Whatever. Well, now I open this one, this one, this one. Alright. Here we go, as they come on up. Yes, there's vastly greater arsenal just all tucked away. As you can see it all now moving. Let's go over the list of what this thing truly has. Up front, we have, these are supposed to be forward-firing heavy turbo lasers mixed with rotary mass drivers, like what the Vengeance has, only 2 instead of 2 duals. Because, stuff. You have 4 capital-grade heavy torpedoes. Well, capital-grade torpedoes or sub-capital-grade heavy torpedoes, because I was thinking of the Acclamair from Republic Commando. Those were heavy torpedoes. So these are probably just capital-grade torpedoes or sub-capital-grade heavy torpedoes. These are some very large, something like a cruise missile that you would find on most ships, concussion missiles. And we have a whole lot more. We have a total of 8 pods of what would be anti-fighter concussion missiles, and 8 pods of what would be like anti-sub capital larger concussion missiles, and those would be like the really big ones here. So heavies. Next up, there are a total of 20 of what are these, the dual heavy laser cannons that you would find on something like the Ghost, and a total of 30 quad rails, like from the Millennium Falcon, with the, like I said, 4 ion cannons, 4 dual turbo lasers, the 4 dual heavy laser cannons, and 4 triple laser cannons, and 8 rotary Gatling blasters. It would have extremely powerful shields, being Mandalorian. And I mean shields that would rival a Star Destroyer, but in a compact size like this. And it would come with a Class 1 or better hyperdrive and nav computers, and a assortment of fighter craft. Along with coming with, well, let's go over just more of what it would have. For ships and things like that, you have these 8 smaller bays on the outside, which I believe would have, you know how in Star Wars Rebels there's that little bitty shuttlecraft that they had that could only carry 6 passengers, and I believe it had a, well, I'm not sure if it had a hyperdrive or not, I'm not sure, but there was that little thing they had. I believe each one of these would have 4, so a total of 32 Sparrow-class light assault shuttles with 16 Wasp-class snub interceptors, little bitty things, tiny little things, with no hyperdrive and just, well, very good capability for defending the ship. In the bay here, you would have 2 Razor Crests, like from the Mandalorian TV show, along with having, either here or the other ones, 2 Fire Sprays, which is the Slave one. And I thought it'd be nice if the Mandalorians, being a post-Empire days, would grab 4 TIE Defenders, just because they can. In these larger 2 bays, you have, I believe, 2 total Commerk-class transports, the larger Mandalorian vessels shown in the Clone Wars, and 4 Hornet-class, 2 each, heavy fighters that I've yet to make. That would be in here, but intentionally, there would be room open. 20% of room in each one of these, probably 40% of room in there, and 20% of room in here, with all of this open. And you could just park vessels there and go into hyperspace with them there, just magnetize it, and you should be just fine. Now, this massive bay on the back, I thought it'd be good if the Mandalorians would be helping certain people. The Jawas. Jabba's Sandcrawler could easily fit in here. If this whole ship is 250 meters long, I mean, it's going to be over 50 meters high. A Jawa Sandcrawler, you might be able to park 2 on top of each other in here. So, yeah, you'd have some room in here. And you could easily launch. What I'm coming up with is 64 mixed speeder bikes, 16 light speeders, 4 heavy speeders. You got the Jawa Sandcrawler. And then you would have multiple mechs. I'm thinking actually intentionally just using stuff from Mech Warrior. Like 4 light mechs from there, 2 medium mechs, and 1 assault mech like an Atlas. And just because I can, I would throw in 8 Astartes from Warhammer 40k Space Marines. As for what this has on the inside, well, take a look at everything a Jawa Sandcrawler has. The ability to completely refine stuff, make it the size of a human, but throw in all the stuff you would need for a large factory. Small manual mill, small manual lathe, large ones, a bandsaw. You'd have CNC mill, CNC lathe, small, medium, large, simple machines, the fancy machines, and throw in a very good fusion reactor for the ship, powered by kyber crystals. But for the factory, also, I would throw in a heavy press, like a 5,000, 20,000 ton heavy press. Actually, you could fit something bigger in here, but don't. There would be a large there would be a large, not cantina, a shop, an entire floor of the ship that's just for the shops. Massive cargo bay, and intentionally room to grow. There would be an entire school, an entire nursery, everything that children would need. You would have like a basketball court, a football stadium, or stuff, internal gardens, stuff like that. Because of the volume, you can get away with having a lot of stuff. It's just so big. It has just so much room to do things with. Right now I need to close that, turn that. Now wait. I can even fly around. So yes, it would be an entire mobile culvert. A Mandalorian forge would be inside, along with they're finally down. Along with having an entire mainline factory, salvage yard, things like that. I believe they would decide to put on a form of ram scoop to scoop up material to transform it into fuel for the engines, if it's possible. And it would be designed to work with the vast majority of things, so maybe not the best in capability, but I believe the ship would still be decently quick. It wouldn't have the best capability per se, but it would be meant to, well, it would have high output still, but it would be meant to be a longevity thing. Like I said, a mobile base. Be able to refuel its fighters, repair its fighters, even rebuild them from scratch if it needs to, completely work on like a Jawa Sandcrawler, train them on everything, get them their weapons, their guns, their ammo, missiles, work on droids, all sorts of stuff like that. Yeah, it would just have all of that. And again, I can do that because look at the size. It's huge. It's the volume. So, yes, the Mandalorians wanting a good gunship while also wanting a good mobile base, mobile culvert or transport school, entire town. Like I said, they would go somewhere, they would park, let in visitors through where you have lock systems otherwise, and you have a town on the inside to have all sorts of just shops for sale. And you could even have internal farms and internal things for cattle or stuff. Just be careful. But you could do that. You could have kind of whatever you want. Well, to a degree. It would have to be smaller, but it would be there. I imagine if they ever make a deal with the Sith, they could work on Sith alchemy to actually change stuff like what a Starforge did. So, yeah. Oh, the entire ship would be made out of Beskar, inside and out. All the support craft, all the speeders made out of Beskar. All of the, everything would also have a high-end cloaking device. So there's that. That would be pretty good. So, yeah. That's what I came up with for the Predator. Tell me what you think about this thing. Tell me what you think about having a mobile base. A mobile culvert. And do you think I could fit that stuff? I mean, again, look at the size of this thing. If it is about this, a little bit shorter than a Nebulon B, but has this volume, I think I can get away with it. And you can ask, how come it doesn't have more armament? Because then you need to have the internals for it all. And yes, having some kyber crystals on the inside for the fusion reactor to be better, I think would be a good idea. Alright. Catch y'all later.